But I do want to open up with a fantastic story about one of my all-time favorite filmmakers, a great comedic legend, Mel Brooks. So he's one of the all-time greats, and then this year he got to sit down with an audience and discuss, kind of go through a Q&A. I want to say it was in LA for the 50th anniversary of Blazing Saddles, which, as people point out a lot, is definitely a film that could not be made today because of how controversial it would be. But it was even controversial then, I think, but in the sense of comedy, it was okay because people still had a sense of humor. They don't tend to have so much of one anymore, it seems. And I say that as a filmmaker who's made some raunchy stuff that I think is absolutely hilarious. Myself and my filmmaking partner, who is a black man, we have both contributed to scripts that have raunchy racism, all kinds of stuff in there for the sense of humor, not in hate, of course. And we laugh at what I laugh at what he writes. He laughs at what I write. We never get angry at each other. We present it to our cast and crew. They laugh, they have a good time, we put it out, and the audience laughs and has a good time too. At least the right audience does. You know what I'm saying? Not the uptight, gotta stick up their, not those folks. There's still those folks that do watch and they complain, but it is what it is. But that's not you, because you're awesome. But back to Mel Brooks here. From Blazing Saddles to Spaceballs, Robin Hood Men in Tights, Young Frankenstein, to so many more. He's shown that he's one of the best when it comes to building a solid comedic film. And so we're going to look a little bit at this real quick. It says, this is from IndieWire. Mel Brooks recalls many notes on Blazing Saddles from Warner Brothers. I would have had an 11-minute movie. Yeah, again, that's even more so true today. He wouldn't have anything today with all the with the studio notes and whatnot. So let's dive on to this. How about that opening picture, huh? I mean, that's controversial. I'm sure somebody watching right now is getting all but just a squeeze in and can't hardly breathe and heart palpitating because a cleavage, an attractive woman. Oh no, we can't have that. As you notice in modern cinema, it seems like, or in games and whatnot, it seems like every time there's an attractive woman that is in a film, they try to make her less attractive or less accentuating her features and stuff like that, because we don't want to celebrate the beauty that is the female form, because that would just be too much. That's just ridiculous. Gotta love it. All right, here we go. A fart joke is easy. This may be, but executed by Mel Brooks, it can get a crowd going more than anything on view at this summer's Paris Olympics. So was the case this past weekend at the 50th anniversary screening of his Western comedy classic Blazing Saddles, which played at the Peacock Theater in Los Angeles and was followed by a Q&A with the 98 years old, God bless him, 98-year-old filmmaker himself, moderated by Brooks Films producer Kevin Salter. Brooks dazzled and enraptured the audience with tidbits on the making of the film and stories from his colorful past. One such story involved his hard-to-believe Oscar win for his first film, The Producers. The Peacock. I don't think we've had a film there. I do know one of our films played in the Grauman Chinese Theater, which is now the TCL Theater, I think. That brand of TVs, I think it's called the TCL Theater now or something like that. We've had a film play out there. I think we've had a couple plays somewhere else out there. I don't know. I don't think we've been at the Peacock. Anyways, I didn't have a speech because Stanley Kubrick was in the same category for 2001, Brooks said, of being nominated for Best Original Screenplay. There was a brilliant director called Pontecorvo who did The Battle of Algiers, a great picture. I knew he would win, I said. There's no chance of my winning, so just go there and wear my tuxedo and enjoy the night. But when it came to original screenplay, Frank Sinatra and Don Rickles, they called Mel Brooks. I was petrified. I didn't have a speech. Do you know how hard it was not to break into that song? At first I was afraid. I was petrified.
Kept thinking I could never live without you by my side.
I'll spare you guys. ADD or ADHD or whatever just kicked in there. I feel like I got a touch of it. I get around it so much with some of the people you guys see me streaming with, and I'm just like, squirrel. I can't help it. First I was afraid, I was petrified. All right, anyways. Thankfully, Brooks shared he was a good ad-libber and pulled some jokes out of his hat while accepting the award that included a touching tribute to friend and star of the producers, Gene Wilder. Love me some Gene Wilder. Again, Young Frankenstein, I mentioned that earlier. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is one of my all-time favorite movies. I don't have a poster on my walls, but my wife, you might see it right there. My wife got me a limited edition box set of, not a box set, but a limited edition box kind of thing. It's got like the DVD in there. It's got some other stuff in there. It's a numbered limited edition run kind of thing. She got me one for Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory and The Wizard of Oz, two of my all-time favorite films. The Wizard of Oz was the film that really made me want to become a filmmaker, and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory was a film that made me see that there were no limitations. Between Wizard of Oz and that one, those were two of the most influential films I saw as a child that made me want to tell stories and be creative and think outside the box. So my wife, who is absolutely amazing, got me those for, I think it was a Father's Day one year. And man, I am so honored to have those and thrilled. But yeah, that's one of my favorite movies. I love me some Gene Wilder. And anytime I've ever seen him on any kind of talk shows or interviews or anything like that, he seems like such a sweet man, such a sweet soul. And R.I.P. Gene. Man, what a great guy. It says this was at just the beginning of Wilder Brooks's relationship and collaboration, which would include work on Blazing Saddles. During the Q&A, Brooks admitted Wilder wasn't the first choice and explained how a ploy to get John Wayne on board didn't work out. I think I've heard this one before. He said, I wanted authenticity. I wanted the Waco Kid to actually have been a Western movie actor, so that he would lend a kind of authentic character to the movie. So I was at the Warner Brothers Cafe, and sitting 4 tables away was John Wayne. Brooks said. So I walked over and I said, Mr. Wayne, I made a movie called Blazing Saddles. It's a comedy, but it has a lot of heart. There's a great part in it that I wish you would play. He said, okay, you know what? I know you. I saw the producers and I laughed my head off. You are a very funny guy. I'd love to read it. I said, okay. I got very nervous. I called somebody. I said, get me a script. They got a script. I gave it to Wayne. He said, I'll meet you at the same place 24 hours from now at 2:00 right here. I met him. He said, I laughed my ass off, but I couldn't make it. It's too dirty. Brooks next went to the Academy Award-winning Western actor Gig Young, who was cast as the Waco Kid, but whose issues with alcoholism forced him to depart the film early. In dire straits, Brooks reached out to Wilder to fly in and save him. The actor happily obliged, and the rest is history. Another actor who was happy to do anything Brooks asked for was Madeline Kahn, who played the sultry German showgirl Lily von Stupp. And I'll kind of skip around a little bit here, but that whole little clique, that little core group right there has done several films and just so good. So they work so well together. Absolutely love it. Let me jump on down here a little bit. This might be good. I was on the way out of the theater and somebody grabbed the nape of my neck and took me to the manager's office, threw me down, and he was the head of all Warner Brothers, said, Brooks, Ted Ashley. I was with John Calley, who was in charge of the studio, but not in charge of all Warner Brothers. This guy was the head guy. He threw me a legal pad and a Sharpie and said, right, no hitting an old lady, out. No hitting a horse, out. No farting, out. Why listen to anything? I would have had an 11-minute movie. So he left. I crumbled up his notes, threw it in the wastebasket. True that Brooks admits to cutting only one portion of one scene from the film, not because anyone asked him to, but because he himself knew it was more than he needed to sell the joke. However, in reflecting on the cut, he did feel a twinge of regret. And I will say too, because I was talking to somebody, who was I talking to? I was talking to Sean from Third Relify. You guys know him. I stream with him quite frequently. I'm starting to kind of co-host in a way his Saturday night shows called Off the Rails, and he's a super good buddy of mine. And we were talking about editing intros and editing other videos and whatnot. And sometimes you leave really, really good footage on the cutting room floor. The last film that I did that was mine, that I wrote and edited and all that good stuff, was What the Devil Said. It was a little horror film. We had so much good footage that I could have kept in, but it didn't add. It was just a continuation of what was there. And I probably could have got fairly close to a feature-length film's length, like a I don't know, close to 80 minutes probably. I ended up with a solid 30 minutes though. I think it was a solid 30 minutes, and it felt like it was over way faster than that. But yeah, so a lot of times you shoot a lot more than you end up using, and you cut some really, really great stuff. And that's one of the hardest things to do, to know what to cut, when to cut, and then you leave like your baby's on the floor. It's so sad, but you know, it's art, baby. You know, as again, I've quoted him before, Bill Moseley. To me, it's a wonderful quote. He got it from Rob Zombie. They were shooting The Devil's Rejects. Bill Moseley was becoming Otis Driftwood, and they were shooting a scene, and he was super bummed out, and he said something to Rob Zombie, and Rob Zombie looked at him and said, "You know what, Bill? Art is not safe." And I've carried that with me forever. From my first short film to my most recent film to editing other people's films. Art is not safe, and art has no boundaries. You can do anything and everything you want to do. Now, there may not always be an audience for what you're doing, and Mel Brooks understood that, hey, you know, I don't necessarily have to have this. It's not necessarily adding to it, and it may take it a bit too far. So props for him for knowing where to cut, when to cut. And I do know, oh man, I know all too well about how painful it is to make that cut when you really don't want to. You worked hard to get it, and you don't want to. Look, again, as a filmmaker, as a fan of cinema, and a dude with a super dry sense of humor, which you may have not seen, you know, displayed very much. I don't know, but I thank you, Mr. Brooks, for all the wonderful stories you brought to life and all the laughter you brought into our homes. You are an inspiration, sir. Again, to me, not only as a fan, but as a filmmaker. You've done awesome stuff, and I thank you for that. So, anybody else a big fan of Mel Brooks and his stuff? Let me know in the comment section down below. What is your favorite Mel Brooks film, in fact? I don't know if I can narrow it down to one. But I will say this, because we're talking about Blazing Saddles. If you have not seen Blazing Saddles, you know, put your feelings away, because it may hurt, you know, soft people's feelings. No offense, but yeah, it's a good one. It's funny, and there's a lot of stuff that's relatable to stuff in the world today. Funny how that worked out. But yeah, hit me up in the comments down below. Like, share, subscribe, all that stuff, to get this story out there, because he's still with us. 98 years old. Now let's make sure we're giving this man his flowers while he's still around. But let me know in the comments below what your favorite Mel Brooks film is, or if you've never seen one. That'd be interesting. Maybe you can get some suggestions from us.
Hey guys, thanks for checking out this clip from the Morning Mayhem. Remember, this is just a portion of the full show that comes out every Friday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. If you hadn't already, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the full shows or these tasty little nuggets.